by the Brazilian president to Egypt and meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. We have the pleasure to have this phone with His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you, sir? Well, Your Excellency, how do you see this important visit by the Brazilian president, who is one of the very also important leaders in the world, and meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in celebrating 100 years of diplomatic ties?
I like it very much as an old diplomat, and I have the privilege to serve in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, when it was still the capital of Brazil.
Yes.
And I witnessed the movement to the new capital in Brasilia. I attended the establishment of a new embassy of Egypt there. Also, I enjoyed living there with a very good environment, because Brazilians, in general, they are in love with Egypt, with Egypt and the Egyptian history.
Yes.
And I still remember the queues of students and schools and universities coming to ask us for some brochures, some pictures about old Egypt. Another dimension, that the Brazilian army was part of the United Nations security forces to keep peace in Gaza. So they know the history of the Palestinian question very good. And they came back with a very good impression about Egypt and the Palestinians.
Yes.
Many aspects of this concern. And there we have a big Palestinian community. Thousands of Palestinians migrated to Brazil. Lebanese, and the Brazilians are saying, and the Lebanese are saying, that the Lebanese migrants in Brazil are much more than the Lebanese in Lebanon itself. There are several generations of Lebanese there. The most elegant clubs in Brazil, it is Monte Libano. We have 5 very beautiful and wonderful Lebanese clubs there. So the impression of the Brazilians about Egypt and the Arab world is very positive.
Yes.
So I am happy that we are hosting the president, and even as with his accompanied authorities. And really, this is a very good development for our relation, which deserves all our attention.
Yes. Yes. So, Your Excellency, Ambassador Bayoumi, you've just mentioned that the Brazilians, there was troops from Brazil with the UN serving in the Palestinian territories. During the talks between Lula da Silva, the Brazilian president, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, both leaders have had the same stance towards the Gaza Strip or the Palestinian territories concerning a halt of a ceasefire and protecting civilians. So how did you see this, or followed this point of talks between both leaders?
We appreciate this very much, and Brazil, as the largest and the biggest Latin America country, they vote with us, especially with the Palestinian question, automatically, and always they say it is a mechanic voting. Whatever Egypt is voting and interested, then you will have the support of Brazil, of Argentina, Chile, and all these Latin America countries. And it's well known that we are supporting their causes whenever we are discussing any Latin America question. Yes. On the international level, and they are voting with us all the time in the international level, whether the United Nations authorities or anywhere else. So yes, we expect this, and we are happy about this solidarity from our friends in Brazil and Latin America in general.
Yes, the joint press conference was very important, and it showed how the both leaders are coordinating with each other in several affairs. Especially, they said that they had signing agreements concerning increase in the trade size between Egypt and Brazil.
This is very good dimension also because really the trade is becoming much more than it was during my time in Brazil. But still we are ambitious and we know that we can expand the trade relations, the industrial cooperation, even cultural cooperation because there are cultural dimensions also of our relations. So really I am satisfied and I'm quite sure that a story of success can start now for much more deeper relations between the two countries.
Yes, yes. How can both countries benefit from each other in the previous experiences in Egypt? Its experience in several fields, especially establishing national mega projects, the infrastructure, many fields. And also, how can Egypt benefit from the experience of Brazil? Also, the leader Da Silva has a previous experience concerning the poor people and the social affairs in the Brazil.
Here I want to draw the attention that Brazil is a huge area country. The area of Brazil is much more than the whole Western Europe.
Yes.
And they need agriculture. They do not cultivate all their land. And with our experience, I think we can make a big use of the Egyptian experience in the field of agriculture. In the field of industry also, I realize that in Brazil they produce all the types of cars you can imagine. Every car in our mind, it is produced in Israel somehow. Whether making the car from the beginning or collecting the parts. So they have a big experience in the car industry, and now we are on the point to start local Egyptian car industry, which is very important to us. So this is another field. Many fields of industry, agriculture, and services, because Brazil is really a very beautiful place to visit. Rio de Janeiro, my goodness, it's a beautiful place.
Yes.
But still, they need our experience in tourism. They do not attract enough tourists to their country like Egypt. So this is another field, maybe not many people realize it. So I hope that we can open now many new files for the relations, and the cooperation is ahead of us, and we shall do our best in order to make use of this wonderful relations by two countries where we exchange respect and exchange support for each other.
Yes, Your Excellency Ambassador Bayoumi, also how would the membership of both Egypt and Brazil would contribute, their membership in the BRICS, of course, would help and contribute to developing and reforming the international governance system?
Even before the BRICS, we concluded an agreement of free trade area with the group of Mercosur, which is Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay or Uruguay. Yes. Now the BRICS is to complement the direction of this kind of relations. And if the Mercosur is giving us free access without custom duties or any trade barriers, now the BRICS will open another dimension, which is investment, because they have the Bank for Investment for the BRICS countries. We can make use of this. We can invite Brazil to come and establish some industries in the Suez Canal zone, And also the storage. This is one dimension not many people know about it.
Yes.
Because if you ship Brazilian coffee from Brazil or sugar to Japan or China, it takes a long way to go. So we are inviting them to make storage in the Suez Canal zone, because Suez Canal is in the middle of everywhere in the world.
Yes.
This is another dimension. If you try to buy Brazilian coffee or sugar in the last years, they have big stores in Beirut. Now Beirut is not in very good health, and we can make support for this aim also.
Yes.
So, as the Brazilians say, the sky is the limit, and we can continue enlarging our cooperation in many fields.
Yes. Your Excellency, Ambassador Bayoumi, how do you see the importance of Brazil's presiding over the G20 in 2024 and inviting Egypt as a guest to the group meeting, which will take place in the Museum of Rio de Janeiro of the Modern Art on the 18th and the 19th of November 2024?
This is another dimension, and it's a very good initiative from the Brazilian leadership to our leaders. And I think our president, which is a very active diplomat at the presidency level, he is using this quite good. And this is not his first time to attend the G20 meetings or the G7. I remember in 1 month, he jumped to Tokyo in the Far East to attend one meeting like that, and he jumped far west to Paris to attend another meeting, between whether it is G7 or G20. And in occasions like that, it gives our president and Egypt the opportunity to have talks with his counterparts. In few days, I remember once he was in New York, and in 5 days, he made 40 meetings with his counterparts. This is a very good occasion for good communication and good contacts with our friends all over the world.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Bayoumi, also during the G20 meetings, Egypt will seek to highlight the priority issues in Egypt and Africa, and will speak Africa, of course, and other developing nations. So your comment on Egypt's continuous commitment to the African causes.
Yes, this is one part of our way to attract foreign direct investment and to attract businessmen. We say always that Egypt is not a country of 110 million inhabitants. No, we have open markets for us in the African Union because we have free trade area, large free trade area with the African countries. We have another with the Arab world, 22 Arab countries, and we have a third, which is the 27 member states of the European Union. So it is a market of 2,000 million inhabitants, which is open for us. And for a country like Brazil, if it's aiming to much more exports, then they can locate their industries in Egypt. And it's not only Brazil, it's all over Latin America, but with Brazil, because it's a very important country, we can start to give a good model of how cooperation can make very good results for both countries, Egypt and Brazil.
Yes, so the cooperation in the field of investment, as both countries, Egypt and Brazil, have signed agreements between the Brazilian president and the Egyptian president, of course, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. There was signing of agreements. So the cooperation in the field of investment, how would this be important for the economic cooperation between both countries?
It is encouraging, of course, because trade is by itself very good, industry is very good. Now we need investment. And thank God that the BRICS has its own investment bank, so we can make use of this. So it's another dimension which we can depend on.
Yes, the Brazilian President da Silva, Lula da Silva, was keen to visit the pyramids of Giza and to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum and take photos there. How do you see this as an important for boosting tourism in Egypt and attracting more Brazilian tourists to Egypt better than any marketing or advertising?
Imagine the results of such a photograph of the Brazilian president in front of the pyramids or the
Yes.
Sphinx. How many newspapers and magazines in Brazil will publish this?
Yes.
Then you have a sort of propaganda which I evaluated with millions of dollars. Mind you that the individuals in Brazil,
Yes.
they are in love with the Egyptian history.
Yes.
So with the Silva visiting this place, whether the pyramids or the Sphinx, it is enormous good chance for Egypt and the Egyptian tourism also.
Yes. I thank you very much for your time. I thank you
Thank you.
also. Thank you so much for your valuable information. Your Excellency, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. I really had the honor to have this phone with you. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you.